If you want to feel more calm, confident, and connected in your life, the Love Your Real Life membership is for you. Members love the simple daily challenges that help create small, consistent actions that lead to the change that they want. And then the live sessions that are throughout the month that leave them feeling grounded, relaxed, and supported. There's a link in the show notes to join. I would love to see you inside of this membership. Welcome to the Love Your Real Life podcast. I'm Faith Lauterbach, and this is a space to help you heal, rebuild, and create a life you truly love, even if it looks different than you imagined. Each week, I'll be sharing tools, encouragement, and real conversations about what it means to move forward after betrayal, heartbreak, or simply life not going as planned. I am honored to walk alongside you and help you love your real life. Well, hello, and welcome back to the show. Today, we are going to be exploring a new series that I started doing in my podcast a couple of months ago, where we pause and just look back on the past month and then look forward on the month ahead. So welcome to Season 2, Episode 29, What I'm Noticing Right Now. So today, kind of what to expect is doing a recap of what the month of May looked like, what worked, what was draining, and then look ahead to what's coming up next month. What I have found is that taking time to do this kind of activity has been so helpful in my own life that I wanted to give you an opportunity to have space to do that as well. I found that having time for reflection and then time to intentionally plan what's next is the key to supporting and creating a life that you love. It's so easy to live in autopilot and to just let life happen. Doing something like this can help to kind of shake that up and to not let you just live in autopilot. So, if you've been feeling like that defines the way you're living, I'm going to share some things today that maybe help you do the same in your life. I also have a workshop that I do the beginning of each month that is called the Real Life Reset. There's some information on the show notes about how you could take part in that. It is a live workshop on Zoom. Anyways, it's so helpful. And if you want to maybe dive in a little more specific for yourself, check out those show notes for that. Okay, so let's talk about just kind of reflecting back on the last month. One thing that was kind of out of the ordinary for me is travel. Not that I don't ever travel, I travel quite a bit, but in a 5-week span, my husband and I traveled 3 different times, and that is a lot for me. Each trip was so meaningful and fun, but I'm also a homebody and I like my routines. Because I take this time each month to reflect and then look ahead, I feel like I was more prepared to kind of put together those moving parts that travel brings, especially the added part of owning my own business. Planning is key to reducing overwhelm and stress. I think sometimes we assume if we're doing things that we want to do and that are fun to us, then it shouldn't feel draining or it shouldn't be exhausting, but that's not true. Fun often requires energy and work. So the thing that I've learned is that when I pause and plan for it, I'm able to be more present and reduce stress, prevent stress. And that is another reason why reflecting and intentional planning is so important. Moving my body. I know that when I move my body, I feel better. May had a lot of opportunities for this. I taught many yoga classes, both remotely and in person. See the show notes for how you can join in on that. And I've been consistently working out and now walking outside more and recently doing yard work with this beautiful weather that we've been having. I know this about myself. If I don't put my workouts on the calendar, they don't happen. I also really like taking classes. And so I try to do a couple of classes a week. And I do that with ClassPass. So I get a ClassPass membership, which is an app that allows you to kind of do drop ins to different gyms that participate. And I love that because I can try out some new things, or I've been doing a cycling class on a regular basis through ClassPass, which I really, really enjoy. And then I have a membership to the YMCA. Kind of through both of those things, I can find some different classes and be consistent with doing 2 to 3 classes each week. We also have a home gym, which I love. We've kind of created it and put the things in it that we really want and like doing. So we have a mixture of free weights, of, barbells, dumbbells. We have a bike, and we just ordered a treadmill, and I'm really excited for that to come in. It actually should be here before this episode airs. And so that's going to be a great addition. Something that I've learned is that prioritizing movement, even if it's for just 10 minutes, makes a huge difference in my life, in my physical and emotional health. So, knowing that it doesn't have to be 1 hour, it doesn't even have to be 30 minutes, 10 minutes of movement make a difference. There's been days too where even that may have felt too challenging. And so I will create pockets throughout the day that I'm doing intentional moving of my body. Like when I'm in my office, there's stairs. And so a lot of times in between clients, I'll go do 5 flights of stairs. Things like that, doing squats every time I get up. You can build in movement into your day when you don't have or aren't able to prioritize more longer times of doing an actual workout. So just remember, all of those things add up and they help you to feel your best. Another thing that has been really supportive and honestly just so much fun has been adding more music into my day. So I love listening to podcasts and audiobooks. But what I've found is that adding in music, kind of alternating, brings in this element of joy. So, I'll put in some headphones while I'm doing yard work or cleaning around the house while I'm driving. I don't wear the headphones, but listening to some music while I'm driving, while I'm getting ready in the morning, while I'm taking a shower and getting ready for the day. And I've been having so much fun with that. So creating playlists that speak to the mood that you want to be in. So having like a fun playlist, having a energizing playlist, having a maybe even getting ready playlist or a calming down playlist. You can kind of play around with that and see what works best for you. But music impacts your mood and can change your mood. It can help you feel the way you want to feel. So remember that and don't forget. And it's so easy. Like we have all this streaming music is so easy. I remember back in the day when you would have to like literally like have a tape recorder, like a cassette tape, hit the record and the play button when your song came on the radio. It's so easy now. We can just stream anything we want to. So use that to your advantage. Sometimes we underestimate how much little things like music can support how our life feels. Daily organization. This is huge for me, for my own life, or I help people create different ways to organize their life, my clients and my membership. And I'm always up for kind of trying new things and experimenting when it comes to this, switching things up if something feels boring or if it's not working anymore. So, something I've been doing lately is, I guess, first, some kind of constant task management systems, calendar systems. I love using Asana, which Asana is something I've started using the last couple months. And I could do a whole episode on Asana. It's such a cool tool and it's free. There are paid versions, but I use the free version and I love it. Google Calendar is something I've used forever. I use tasks within there. I plan my events. I do a lot of things with Google Calendar. So those are kind of my main digital organizations. But I am a pen and paper girl. And I've been using personal planners way back in junior high. I still have them and they're very entertaining to read. But through junior high, through high school, through early adulthood, I always had a physical planner. I still use one. And I still like to have space to every morning to create a to-do list and to have space just to kind of write those things out. I've been playing around with some different prompts to use to help and then book in those in the evening to bring it full circle to check in with how that went, how my tasks went, how my to-do list went. And I'm going to share some more specific after I've kind of used them for a little bit and can feel like I can recommend them. But just know that doing kind of a reflection on your organization, your tasks, your planning can be really helpful to see what's working, what's not working, where you can make small shifts that make a big difference. I think a lot of people think they have to overhaul their life, make all these big changes to see a big difference. But what I've seen in my own life and from coaching lots and lots of people is that small change creates big results. So, moving on to work and my business, May was really exciting. I had several new clients this month, which is so meaningful. And I'm always so honored when somebody chooses to allow me to help them walk through what they're walking through. I have a lot of growth in my membership, and I had a lot of different workshops and classes that I did in May. So I have some that are pretty standard. The first Wednesday of every month, I have something called the Real Life Monthly Reset Workshop. That is something that is included in my membership, but anybody can purchase to come just to that. And this is where we intentionally reflect very specifically on the past month and then intentionally plan for the coming month or the current month. And so that's what I'd like to invite you into. If you are wanting more of this and to make it more specific to you, come to that workshop. It's great. It is one of my favorites because of how impactful it is on our life. The first Wednesday of every month, and that's in the evening from 7 to 8 p.m. All of my workshops are recorded though. So if you register for them, you will get the recording, the playback, and all of the handouts that go along with that. And then the end of the month, I always do a workshop that kind of matches with the theme that we're exploring in the membership. Again, that one's included in the membership, but also you can singly purchase that to come. And in May, it was creating a morning routine. And that was a great workshop. I could talk about morning routines for a long time. It was literally something that saved my life. And I've continued to do them each morning. And it, I know, has put my life in a trajectory that has made it so I'm doing the things I want to do and living the life that I want to live, and all from a morning routine. And also, like I shared at the beginning of this episode, I've taught multiple yoga classes. I teach 2 remotely each week and then 2 in-person ones each month. And you can see the show notes for how to come to one of those if you are interested. Lots of other fun things coming up in my membership. And I'll talk about some of those a little bit later. Let's talk about what felt hard. And now I think it's really important to take time to think about this, to reflect on what was challenging, and doing this from a place of non judgment, doing this from a place of curiosity. That's when we can take things that are challenging and turn them into new opportunities, to lessons that we've learned that we can use to improve or to change things. And so don't shy away from what was challenging. But what I would encourage you is to have a new perspective, if you haven't already, of curiosity and not judgment. I'll tell you, something that's been frustrating for me lately is I have this a shoulder injury, And I've been doing physical therapy consistently, and I haven't really seen much change. So I'll have to get some imaging and things like that. So, all that fun stuff to see what's going on. But I will tell you, anytime I have something that holds me back physically, I learn a lot of patience. When you are someone who values wellness and health and taking care of yourself, it can feel really discouraging when your body isn't responding the way you want it to. And I think sometimes the wellness culture can unintentionally make us feel like there's a problem there, like there's something wrong with us, that we have to push harder, that we just hustle through it. But for me, real life and real wellness does not look that way. So I'm continuing to learn how to navigate and care for myself with compassion instead of frustration and figure out what's in this for me right now. What is here for me to learn in this? And I think taking that kind of approach, any challenging situation, whether it be physical, whether it be a person in your life, an experience that didn't go the way you wanted it to go, something that feels frustrating and challenging, instead of it being a setback, instead of it being something that can just make you frustrated and maybe ruminate, stopping and thinking about what is this doing for me? Even if it's something I don't want to be happening, what is this doing for me? What is the lesson here for me? Okay, as I look forward into June, I'm thinking a lot about how it's so important to let our routines and support systems and life evolve with the season we're in. Sometimes we can find that routines or habits, something we're doing, work really well for us, and then all of a sudden they're not. Maybe it's because of schedule shifts. Maybe it's our own schedule, or maybe it's someone in our household. Energy changes. When we go from season to season, there's going to be different energy that impacts how we feel and what's working for us and what's not. Summer tends to be a more energetic season, but with that, there's also a lot of things like travel, just like I was sharing before, and that changes routines and habits. Lots of different celebrations, which can bring maybe food that we're not usually eating, or maybe there's other things that we usually go to that we can't because of that. Maybe your kids are home for the summer. That obviously changes how things look. Maybe your evenings look different, ball games or whatever it is. But instead of adjusting with the season, sometimes we can just try to force ourselves to keep doing things exactly the same way, or just quit doing the things altogether because we are like, well, this isn't working anymore. But when we stop and reflect and think about it and plan ahead and look back with, in a regular way, then we can kind of notice these things. And instead of just quitting and stopping doing things that actually help us, we then can take a pause and say, okay, this thing that I'm wanting to do is not working right now. And here's probably why. And so I'm going to pause and say, how do I want to feel moving forward? And then ask what intentional actions support that version of my life right now with what's going on in my schedule. So maybe it just looks different. Maybe you used to go to 9 a.m. workout class after you drop the kids off of school, but the kids aren't going to school in the summer. And so we're going to get creative on some different things. Maybe it's going to the Y and the kids can go to the, kids area, or maybe it's trading babysitting time with a neighbor or something like that. But the important thing is when something is helping you, to not just quit doing it because schedules change or because it's not necessarily working in whatever shift has happened, but thinking about, how do I want to feel? And then what intentional actions support this version of my life right now? And allowing yourself to be creative and finding out how to continue to do the things that support you. Because when you are supported, you can better show up for everything else in your life. So let's talk a little bit about June membership. So each month in the Love Your Real Life membership, I have a theme. And this month, it's about creating a summer for your real life. We're going to be talking about just that. We're going to create supportive summer rhythms and routines, intentional wellness for the season, realistic habits, slowing down, protecting your energy, and creating a summer that feels supportive instead of overwhelming. If you've been waiting to try the membership, you can join with a 7-day free trial. You'll see the link in the show notes at the bottom. Come in and explore and see if this feels supportive for you. At the end of June, I'll be hosting a mid-year reset workshop. We are halfway through the year in June, and so come on into this workshop and let's dive into things like, how am I actually doing? What's working for me? What needs to shift? And what do I want for the second half of this year? This workshop is a space to intentionally reflect without judgment and reconnect with what matters most moving forward. Because you don't have to wait until January or back to school or whatever to reset, to plan, to shift. You can do it any time. As I look back on May, what I notice most is full seasons require support. Busy seasons require looking at things a little differently. It's not about being perfect. It's not about doing everything without challenges. It's about awareness, intentionality, flexibility, and compassion. One of the most powerful things we can do is stop trying to force ourselves into things that no longer fit in our lives, and instead ask, what support does this season of life actually need from me? That's really how we begin creating a life that not only looks good, but feels good. That feeling good is the important piece. Am I feeling the way I want to feel? Am I doing what I want to do? All right, talk to you next week. Thank you so much for listening to the Love Your Real Life podcast. I hope that today's episode was just what you needed. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're looking for more support, check out the show notes for how to connect. Remember, no matter what your story holds, you are worthy of living a life that you love. Talk to you soon.